Good morning and welcome to this week's Wednesday with Warbus. We're here at the administration building at 219 North Lee, and we're in the board room. And as you can see, we are a 5-member board, and Penny Bush is our board clerk. She sits at the table, and also Colonel Pedersen is an ex officio board member from Altus Air Force Base. He's not allowed to vote, Penny is not allowed to vote, and I'm not allowed to vote. The other 5 members vote. And we have a great board. I've introduced you to some of them, and in the future I'm going to continue to introduce them to you. I wanted to talk just a little bit this morning about the process that happens before a board meeting. What happens is a year in advance, this past board meeting in November, we passed all the dates for next year's board meetings, and they are the second Monday of every month. If there's a special board meeting, then we have to go to the clerk's office at the courthouse and let them know that we're going to have a special board meeting. So they know in advance of all the board meetings that we're going to have throughout the year. And then each month, the administration team meets the Monday before the board meeting, and we have meetings and we discuss what's on the agenda, what needs to be on the agenda, any changes that need to be made, personnel. We also, on those Mondays, we have meetings here at the central office staff to discuss all the different things that go into the agenda to make sure we're all on board, because the agenda has to be posted at least 48 hours before the board meeting. So we usually post it sometime Thursday before the Monday board meeting. So I would just want to show you a a board agenda, and I chose November's board agenda because the December one is not quite finished. We're going to post it tomorrow, Thursday, and the board meeting will be on Monday. But up here, as you can see, it shows where the meeting's going to be. That cannot be changed, and the time cannot be changed. This has to be posted at least 48 hours in advance, and it's posted here at the administration building. One thing that we do at Altus Public Schools, which I love, is we recognize students at almost every single board meeting. So we want to showcase our students, our faculty and staff, and all the good things that are happening at Altus Public Schools. We have a student from each site throughout the school year do the pledge. In November, we had a student from Rivers present the pledge. Then we have comments from the public. Sometimes we have comments from the public. They have to go through a process of filling out paperwork, and it has to be done so many days in advance, and they only get a set amount of time to talk to the board. They can talk to the board, but the board will not respond back to them. Then there's superintendent's reports, and this is usually whenever I just tell the board members things that are coming up that they might need to know, some exciting things in the district. Then this is where we recognize the different students. The next part of the agenda is all financial things and the consent agenda. So some of the financial things that's public record that comes out every single month is all the different encumbrances. And as you can see, we have lots of encumbrances throughout a particular month. Then this shows all of our income for the month. And most of it, the big numbers like the 1.2 million, that would be state aid. And these are just different revenues that we have. And this particular month, we had a revenue of a little over almost $2 million, 1.9 million. Then the next one shows our accounts, our combined accounts, general, cafeteria, and building funds. And then thank you to Altus voters. We have a bond fund now. We have a bond fund and a sweeping fund, and we still have over 4.5 million in that. And then a sinking fund. The sinking fund is where the ad valorem taxes go in so we can pay the bond off that we sold. There's not much money in that right now, but taxes are due this December, and so that sinking fund will grow, and that's how we'll make our payment each year. Also each month, and this is for the month of October, because again, this was November's board meeting, the general fund This is all public record. It shows how much we started the school year with, which always starts on July 1. It shows the money that we spent, and then our balance at the end of that particular month. So the end of October, we still had a balance of a little bit over $2.2 million. And our building fund, we started out with $2.3 million in July 1, and ending in September, it was a little over $2 million. So it shows how we've spent that particular money. Another interesting thing about this particular thing, it shows our operating expenses year to date. And our operating expenses are right at $2 million, and our payroll is at 5.9, almost $6 million. This is something I always find very interesting. It's from 2011 until now, and what it shows is our general fund balance by month. So I always kind of compare where we are this year to where we were the last year or the year before, and you can see that we started 1920 with almost $4 million, whereas the year before we had a little less than $3 million, and that's when we talked about why we were going to be able to add staff, because all your frugal things that you've done to help us to save money. And so next year, not that we want to have less money, but we want to possibly carry over less money so that we can decrease class sizes. But this is just always an interesting thing each month to look at to make sure we're right on target. Then there's the building fund over the last several years. And again, the building fund was a little higher than it had been. We've been saving that money for any major issues and to make sure that we're able to finish the high school projects as planned. But as you can tell, we started the July 1 at 2.3 million, and we're down to 2 million, but usually we get a pretty good payment in December and January for ad valorem. So that's a great piece of information that I always like. Then we have every month all the activity accounts in Altus Public Schools, and it shows their beginning balance for the month, the revenue for the month, the expenses for the month, and their ending balance. And so at the end of the page, it just shows how much money is in there totally. And so our total balance in our activity account, all of our activity accounts, was over $1 million. And it really hovers right around $1 million. Usually early in the year, it's a lot more. And then by the end of the year, most people have spent most of their money and it's a little bit less. But that's always interesting to watch. And then again, our month ending accounts in cafeteria. And again, if you remember some of my past Wednesdays with Warvis, our cafeteria completely operates on its own. The money that they receive for the meals that we serve pays for all of the food, pays for the equipment, pays for all the salaries. We put, so far, thanks to Sabina's help and Mrs. Holder's running of the cafeteria fund, we have not had to put actual school money or general fund money into it because it's self-sufficient and operates itself. And ending in October, we had a balance of $282,000 in that. And again, they operate that very well. Then that's all on the consent agenda. That's usually voted on at just one big thing. We also always give a MAPS update. And the one coming up, I just got the November MAPS, and we're right at 2.1 million still in our MAPS fund. So we're right on target. Hopefully everything will finish at the auditorium and at the band hall with that 2.1 million. And we have a little bit extra maybe to do a little bit of the things that we wanted to do in the cafeteria. Then each board meeting or each agenda has a possibility of a new board policy or revision. In this particular one, we did have a revision. That's on there every single time. Then, of course, our executive session, we very seldom, I don't think I've ever, only one time since I've been superintendent have we gone into executive session to discuss a personnel situation. But we do go every single month for about 5 to 10 minutes to discuss my ongoing evaluation. They give me a segment of my evaluation every single month, and we talk about that particular segment. And then the rest of the agenda is just whatever happens that particular month. I start off by looking at the previous year's agenda, and see most things happen the same month every time, but we do have additions to it or subtractions from it. Just depends on what's going on that particular school year. So like this Monday, some of the exciting things that we're going to be able to do is hopefully accept the bid for selling our land, which is on North Park Lane. We'll find that out. And then the week after that, we'll be opening bids for the safe rooms. So in January, we'll be able to accept that. Those are some of the things that happen on the rest of the agenda. Our meetings usually only last about an hour. They used to last only about 15 or 20 minutes, but now that we've started recognizing our students, which is the best part of the whole meeting, they do last a little bit longer. Also, each month we've started a new thing about a year ago, where each month either a principal or someone here at the central office gives an update on their particular part of their job in the district. So a principal each month would give a report. Like this month, it'll be Mrs. Redden. She's going to give a report on Altus Intermediate School, what all is going on, some of the exciting things they've got going. During the summertime, sometimes Jay Richardson gives a report on what's happening with summer maintenance or whatever's going on in his position. Cindy Allen takes a month and talks about curriculum and test scores. So we just try to keep the board informed and our public informed. Usually at every meeting, we have somebody from the press. They also get an agenda on Thursdays when we post those. By Friday, we have the agendas and what we call the supporting documents, and it's usually about this thick of all the supporting documents that go with it. That goes to all the board members so they can study it over the weekend. It goes to all the media so that they can study it and have any questions they may have and know how they want to do their articles. Amanda Davis does our highlights, and so that gives her kind of a head start on what we're going to be discussing. But again, it's all public record. We'd love for you to come maybe sit in the meeting and watch it. A lot of you've come with your students that have been recognized, but it's a pretty interesting process. Anytime you have any questions about it, talk to your principal. We talk about the agenda every single month. So hopefully this is just a little more information about what goes into a board meeting and the agenda and our board members. We are anxious to see. We have two of the seats that are coming up. Lee Veer, which is, his district is number 5. It's the county, all the county other than the city of Altus. His 5-year term is up, and he has reapplied, so we're hoping that he doesn't draw an opponent. He's been a fantastic board member. We'll know at 5 o'clock today if he drew an opponent. Jesse Gonzalez, he is in District 3, and he was appointed because Stephen Barnett had moved out of town, out of the state actually, and so he was no longer able to be here. So he was able to, Jesse was appointed, and he works this school year, this year, and then he had to run again, and so he has reapplied and put his name in the hat. So we're hoping he doesn't draw an opponent, and we'll know that again today at 5 o'clock, and we'll be back to sit with our 5-member board, which is an awesome board. Hopefully you'll get to know them all. If you have any questions, please let me know. Can't wait till next week with Hello Dolly. Hopefully you're planning to come see that. And as always, may God continue to bless Altus Public Schools.